taking a long time to go live. There we go. I love that song. Welcome to Rainy Nights, this segment of my YouTube where I interview other motovloggers and motorcycle personalities. If you haven't been here before, I am Randy Ryder. I ride a 2019 BMW and a 2021 Harley Sportster. Feel free to give the channel a like and a subscribe. Tonight we have Lindsay Comer. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi.
All right, so so I know you now as one half of one. Introduce your channel. Go ahead, you do this.
Hi, sorry, I had to turn off the audio is mixing me up. I'm Lindsay Comer, and what was the other half of the question?
You have a YouTube page.
Yes.
And an Instagram.
Yes.
And what is that?
The Instagram or the YouTube or both?
Both.
So I'm Lindsay Comer of One Throttle. If you follow One Throttle on Instagram, you usually are talking to me. A lot of people ask that. We are two people, Crystal and Lindsay, but I do most of the managing of the account and the answering of questions and things of that nature. So yeah, that's me.
All right, and I know that's we can talk about the business aspect of that later, but I actually got to meet you, got to get you in on the special testing that we do, and then I actually started looking into your One Throttle, and it's kind of interesting. So if you want to talk about that, cool. If not, cool. But I just thought it was very interesting. But before we get started, let's say hi to everyone in the audience. I got Loose Juice, Sick Bastard, Johnny of Jerry, Diana Pillion Style, Chasing Ghosts. My friend from Texas is in. Who else we got? Oh, 9 Mills on 2 Wheels is in, and of course, Wilderness Crystal, who is your better half. Can I say your better half?
Yes, but just to clarify, we are not a couple. A lot of people think that we are, but we're not. We are longtime friends.
You are business partners.
Yes, business and creator partners.
All right, and then Buck Brown, Flip and the Blue Mule, my Navy buddy. So welcome everybody. We got a pretty good crowd going tonight. Hopefully it'll get a little larger, but we got a good thing going. So let's kick this off. Where are you from and what do you ride?
I'm not from Vermont, but I currently live in Vermont. I've been living here since the end of 2020, and I ride a 1971 Honda CL100 vintage. And I recently purchased a 2023 Royal Enfield Himalayan.
All right. And is that what's on your shirt?
Yes, this is Ginger. This is Ginger, my bike. She's kind of got her own popularity, so I put her on a t-shirt.
It actually looks better in person, but yeah, t-shirt looks cool, but
yeah,
she's much more sunlight colors on the bike when you look at it on the Instagram.
The t-shirt is definitely brighter in person, but
yeah, definitely just check out the Instagram if you want to see the bike. It is very cool. If you like vintage motorcycles, like here we go, Throttle. If you like vintage motorcycles, check it out because it is a very cool bike. So go to her Instagram. All right, Josh Harris from JD and the Queens just showed up, my favorite music partner. So how long have you been riding?
I'm a new rider. I have been riding for approximately 9 months now. I got my license last August, I think it was, and I bought my bike, the Honda, first. And yeah, I do you want to hear the full story about it?
Yes. Oh yeah. Okay. This is your show. You tell me whatever you want me to hear, and you'll have to look at my cat though.
So Crystal and I at One Throttle, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, she asked me if I would help her create photographs because I'm a photographer. She asked me if I could help her create photographs for One Throttle to help with the software that she's been working on and to create an Instagram presence and social media presence. So I said yes, and I said, but Crystal and I have known each other for about 20 years now, and I said, but I don't ride a motorcycle, you know that, and I'm not going to get my license. And she said, it's okay, you just, you can take pictures wearing gear and I'll send you gear and blah, blah, blah. So we did that and it wasn't working, and I was starting to get an itch about riding, so she told me, she said, "Why don't you go to a planned ride, the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride?" She said, "Why don't you just go there, take photos, and it's like a good way to get a feel for motorcycle culture, just talking to people." So I did, and I had some really nice conversations with people and decided to look into getting my license. And part of the reason I didn't want to is because I thought it would take months and cost a fortune. And it literally is like a 2-day course. You can go and do, at least here in Vermont, you go for 2 days, you do a rider's course. Nobody fails. They probably should fail people, but nobody fails it. And at the end, they give you a little card saying you can now go ride a motorcycle. So when I found out how easy it was, I decided to go ahead and do it and see how I liked it. And turns out I really like it. I didn't think I would, but I love it. So,
And the 2-day course is more than they do for people who get car licenses. So
yeah.
it's a
Well, I mean, I've had my license since I was 16 and had to go through all the like driver's school. So I thought it was going to be like that, like months of learning how to operate a motorcycle. But
yeah, they're actually stricter on motorcycles here. And so I got my license in Texas in the 80s. And
okay.
they actually, on the riding part, they follow you on a motorcycle while you ride a motorcycle. And you had, back then, it was a belt headset. You wear the headset and they tell you from behind you where to turn. And
Okay.
you have to take vocal cues. And this was in the 80s, so it was not good technology. So I'm like looking back and I started cheating because I'd look back and see where he was headed, which side he was going to. And that's where I knew where to turn because I hear him say something and then I look back and wait. But yeah, it's a life. I'm glad to have you aboard. I love interviewing new riders because you have that fresh perspective about new riding and the things you're learning and the things that you're learning to enjoy, which a lot of us, people that have been riding for a while, we kind of forget how awesome it is to ride. So that's why I like to watch these classes because they're very cool to watch and see the excitement on people's faces.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Like our whole group had a blast. It was 2 days. They didn't teach you everything. We literally didn't leave a parking lot. That was like for me to do afterwards. But yeah, it was great. It turns out I loved it. And then once I started riding, I've been kind of addicted to it since. So yeah.
Yeah, it is very cool. So if anybody's got questions in the audience, go ahead and just write. She's watching, I'm watching, so you can write at One Throttle or at Rainy Rider, and it'll pop up for us. Um, Journey of Jerry asks, why doesn't the Navy fish for its food? That's because we spend all of our time below decks working. We don't have time to lounge around like the Army does. Bleak, Bleak is my winner, but I was just looking at this is from last week. Bleak won the trivia question I had.
Oh, those things are so handy. The side stand. I don't
I
know what do they
have
call those.
another.
Yeah.
They're called kickstand plates. So I had a couple made through a place on YouTube or Amazon. But
Okay.
I like blue. Blue's my color. Blue is my Harley color. I love it. So I had a couple made. So in Bleak won one. He won a Harley Davidson keychain and a kickstand plate. So anyway,
Those
yes,
are
if you ride off road, you need one. You
yes,
definitely
and
need one.
we'll talk about riding off road because in Vermont it's unavoidable. I mean, if you really like to ride, it's unavoidable. So I learned to get one because I was finding rocks to prop up my side stand with and stuff, and that's just way more convenient.
Yeah,
So
rocks, beer cans, pieces of wood. You have to what's the word? You have to get inventive.
yeah,
Field expedience.
yep.
All right, Buck. Yeah, even if so, Buck, if you ask a question, I'll see it. You don't have to. You don't have to highlight my word or my name. I'll get it.
Okay.
All right. So, do you consider yourself? You're in Vermont. Rains a lot in Vermont. Do you consider yourself a fair weather rider or a rough rider?
Um, I would say moderate. I prefer to ride when it's dry, obviously, like most people, but during the winter I got cabin fever and I went out in the cold a few times, and including getting stuck on icy roads, which was not entirely fun. I have ridden in the rain, it's fine. I'll do it. Don't love it. Um, but yeah, I definitely prefer the dry weather. I think once I get a full when you get into motorcycling, it's like you buy one thing and then you need to buy 1,500 things, and I
Hmm.
need to buy rain gear. And so I'm just like, one more thing I have to buy to be able to ride in wet weather is, I need a rain suit. Otherwise, I just get soaking wet.
It's like it's like running. You start
Yeah.
running because it's a cheap hobby,
Yeah.
and next thing you know, well, I need a bib holder. Well, now I need a phone holder.
Yep.
Now I need bands. Now I need a GPS band, which you don't have to
Yeah.
have a separate GPS anymore. But yeah, it just gets a little more. Now instead of this $50 pair of shoes, I need a $200 pair of shoes,
Yep.
and it just keeps. Well, now I need 5 more pairs of pants because now I'm running every day, and
Yep.
it just adds up. It does.
Yep.
But good times. Okay, questions. Um, yeah, Ghost. I'll send you the link on Amazon where you can get them. You can get them all this say badass moto and just different colors, or you can get a logo put into them.
Oh,
I'll get you that. I'll get you that.
I need to like stow one away on the bike because I always forget to throw it in my pocket before I leave. So,
Yep, I like them. They're small. They fit in a tank bag or the little side stand, or you can put them under your seat.
yep.
Yeah, it's very well. Okay, what next question? So, how did you kind of talked about how you got into motorcycles, but was it all Crystal's fault, or did you have this inking before that you really wanted to get into motorcycles?
No, it was definitely Crystal's fault. I
All
can tell you
Crystal.
the conversation that was the clincher for me, though, because a lot of people don't think about this. So I'm not an adrenaline junkie. A lot of people associate motorcycle riding with being an adrenaline thing. I'm not an adrenaline junkie, so it never appealed to me, the whole like riding fast thing. So when I was at the motorcycle event last year, I talked to a guy in his 50s, and he said he learned to ride when he was 53, and he said it was the best thing he'd ever done for himself. And so I was talking to him, and he said it's like meditation. You're moving, but you're constantly focusing on the road, and it just puts you in a really great headspace. Um, and that was what convinced me to try it, because my brain tends to be very, chaotic. And so I like activities that help me to focus really well. Um, and I have found it to be that, like, when I'm riding, that's all I can focus on is just, you know, the road and what's ahead. And so, especially when you're new, you have a lot you're thinking about on the bike. And we can get into it later, but as a female, I feel that there's a lot more females have to think about when riding, just because of size, weight, and other differences from men. So, it's a full brain and body experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Even after you've been riding for a while, that so when I was in the military, every 3 years you had to go through another class to be able to ride on base. And
Mm-hmm.
every 3 years I'd have to relearn skills that you go through this class, you learn everything. You're like, yeah, I'm a motorcycle rider now. I'm done. I can just ride. And then you go back to these classes and you realize there's things you forgot and there's skills you don't use anymore. So you start using the skills again, and it's a good thing to you're talking about you have to keep this stuff going through your head the whole time. And I still do that, so I haven't had to take a class now. So I've been retired since 17. I haven't taken a class since 15. But I'll do I'll do U-turns, I'll do boxes, I'll do eights because I know in my mind now that I've done this and I know that you can actually forget it. I do it because you never know when you're going to need that skill, the quick braking skill, the quick turn skill, the tight turn skill. Just keep practicing, 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 and it stays fresh on you.
I think that I'm actually going to sign up for another riding class this summer or maybe in the fall, because I want to be able to learn more skills, and I feel like I do better in a class environment. So I've thought, I mean, I do better just with experience in general. So I've thought, like, oh, it would be fun to do another class because they have like more advanced ones you can take. And it's a good way to meet riders. People, you can go for rides with in the future too.
It is a good way to make connections.
Yep.
So we have had Julie Smith came into the chat. Daniel McClellan came in. Ray Gregory Rides has stopped in. So welcome everyone. It's turned into a pretty good party here.
Yay.
So today, obviously, Crystal doesn't live near you. Who inspires you to get out and ride? Is that
My
Crystal's fault too?
No, I think at this point it's my inner monologue. So right now, I don't really have any friends here who ride. My husband also decided to get his license after I got mine, but he was silly and bought a bike that was way bigger than what he should have bought for a first bike. And he hasn't really enjoyed it the way I have. So I'm trying to push him to start riding without being pushy about it. But I don't have anyone to ride with. So when I want to go riding, I have to tell myself to get out and ride. And I like Instagram and the fact that you are interacting with a lot of other riders. And I don't want to say like they push you to ride because you want to create content, but I like that aspect. I like recording what I'm doing. I like stopping to take photos. So, just seeing what other people are riding and doing definitely motivates me to get on the bike and explore, because Vermont is a surprisingly big state and it's incredibly beautiful. And riding here is just, you know, you could spend a whole day going from where I am just to the Northeast Kingdom. So I have plans to get out there and do
Say that again.
Northeast Kingdom. It's
What's,
literally a segment of Vermont. It's the northeast corner.
is it by Troy? I was going to ask you that when we were talking we were emailing you the other day, but are you anywhere near Troy, Vermont?
No, I don't think so. I'm near Troy, New York, actually. We're right on the border of New York. Well,
Okay.
I say right near, it's an hour and a half. Northeast Kingdom is like the area in the Northeast that borders New Hampshire and Quebec. So it's kind of like its own little corridor, Vermont. And
Okay, so you're way up there.
well, no, I'm not there. To get there's 4 hours.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, like, it's a big state. There's lots to see. There's roads I know. There's roads I don't know. So I'm trying to motivate myself to get out and see them this summer, because we have a very short riding window here. If you don't want to ride in the freezing cold or the snow, you got till like October, maybe half of November. So this is our season.
I saw, I have a friend who lives in Norway, and he posted a video. He's like, riding season in Norway. He looks outside, the sun's out, he runs, puts on all his gear, and he runs outside, gets in the garage, lifts it up, and it's snowing, and there's 5 feet of snow on the ground. So that's pretty much what it's like.
We had 2 feet of snow first week of April, I want to say. Yeah.
I love Mississippi. It's riding season year round. I literally go, the longest I've gone, barring this year, because we had like 3 or 4 days of ice, and so I didn't ride, and I got out a little too soon, and I wrecked on it, and then I had another week off of the bike. But yeah, I'm glad I live down here where I can ride year round. God bless Mississippi.
My neighbor told me, my neighbor who does ride, who I sometimes, go and hang out with and get on a bike with occasionally, but he told me with the right gear, you can ride here in winter so long as it's not physically snowing. But then you have to deal with the salt on the roads, and that's really bad for the bikes.
It's detrimental.
Yeah.
So. Serenity Kitty just stepped in, and my friend Seven Sentinel. So welcome to both of you. I'm glad you guys could show up. Speaking of which, so Seven lives in Jersey, and she goes through kind of the same thing. And then he's not in the chat yet, but I have the Mad Yankee lives up right outside of Boston, Mass.
Oh yeah.
And so I get it.
Patterns.
Yeah, so twice a year we go down to Florida, and both of them have to ride down at the end of March and then the end of October.
Yeah.
And so they all come down to Tampa, and it's 80, 85 degrees. When they drive back, it's back to 30 and 20. Yeah. So God bless them for trying, because I know they go through a lot of crap to get here.
Yeah, I think that I will try to explore some winter places to go to be able to ride. We'll have to see what time allows.
You do have 2 good bikes for riding in the winter weather, snow and slush and such. So.
What was that?
You have 2 good bikes for riding in the slush. So.
Not the Honda's. The Honda, she will kickstart. She doesn't always like to start in the cold, but yeah.
And you might want to get that one out in the slush and salt. But the Himalayan, though, I saw a girl. We all know Itchy Boots. She rode through Russia with that bike in the winter. So go girl. All right. What is our next question? So, would you rather a solo ride or a group ride? So we know, did you actually get to ride in the Distinguished Gentleman
I did
ride?
this past year, yeah. I do like group rides. I think I prefer small groups to big groups. The Distinguished Gentleman's Ride was not where I am because I went to the one in Saratoga, New York was the closest, and I think there was 65 people, so it was manageable. Um, we still got separated at points, but it was manageable. I like small groups. I think like a few people is nice because then you can plan stops that you want to do. Um, I think I like riding solo in that I like to stop when I want to though and take pictures and do what I want to. And like I rode with my neighbor last week who just restored this amazing, beautiful vintage Norton motorcycle. And he just got it ready to ride. And he said, I'm going out. You want to tag along? So I said, sure. And he was getting annoyed because I was fiddling with my GoPro and trying. And he's like, this is why you can't take girls with you because they just want to go and get the cameras out. And I was like, yeah, but if you want video of your bike, then you got to just let me do it. And in that process, we discovered he had an exhaust leak from my footage, and now he has to go back and fix it.
Yeah, pay it
So
off.
yeah, me and my camera are a constant annoyance to whoever goes with me places because I like to stop for photos. And when I'm by myself, nobody bothers me about that. So
I love stopping for, I have to make myself, but then I'm happy that I do. So
yeah,
when I stop and I'll take an Instagram photo or I'll take a picture of it at the gas station or I'll pull up alongside a road sign. You have to make yourself do it, but right up to the point where the bike stops and you put the kickstand down, you're like, I really don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. But once you back off and take the picture, you're like, I'm so glad I did that. That was an awesome
yeah.
memory, a
And
memento.
I think too, for me, even just with traveling, because I've traveled significantly in the past, which we can talk about later, but I find that when I have photos, I can actually like physically, not physically, but mentally visualize that moment and I remember it. Like I can remember every little detail just because I stopped and took a photo. Whereas if I don't have photos, I totally lose those memories in my brain. So it helps me remember things years down the road, which I
Yeah.
like.
And it's cool, even though, so you say you're filling with a GoPro. I love bringing the GoPro. I've just had to find faster ways to get it on the bike. So
Yeah,
now,
it's
so I have, so I got quick connects. I have quick disconnects. I'll put them in the thing where they actually. I wish I had brought one in. Oh wait, I did. Wait for it. So I have these quick magnets that they just like slip
yep,
together like this,
yep.
and that's the easy way to get it off the bike. And I can leave the mount. I can leave everything on it.
I'm gonna have to look into those later. Like you don't have any issues with them.
Nope, nope. They're magnetic, so I
Yeah.
can I can literally just stick it in and it sticks. But two, then you can twist it and lock it. So
Okay.
I have no problems. And then I have a flexible clamp on it's out on the other bike. But I have one for the Sportster and I have one for the Harley. The one on the Sportster is hard mounted with screws and bolts.
Okay.
The one on the BMW, I can just clip it onto the bars because it doesn't vibrate very much, and it's just there.
Yep.
And then if I want to, I can take it off and put it on a handle and carry it around and do just handheld shots.
Yeah.
So I love those things. I've probably got about 20 of them, and I have them mounted to every kind of tripod and handheld little handle and whatever that I can get. Because
That's awesome.
once you learn that's it. One, it keeps people from getting mad at you, like you were
Yep.
saying. So if you're in a hurry and they're not, or they're not and you are, you can just quickly change out. It's nobody's big thing. I can even take them off as I'm riding. Take them off, put one on my helmet. I just want to have volume unless I plug it up.
Yeah.
So
I've also
small
I've
things you learn.
I've also filmed myself. Unfortunately, since I got the Himalayan, I've dropped it twice, and I was filming both times, so I was able to see my mistake afterwards, which was unfortunately helpful because I saw what I did wrong, and now I'm more conscious about it. So there are those things too that you know you might not like seeing afterwards. It's cringeable, but
There's nothing wrong with dropping the bike. I mean, everybody's going to do it
oh yeah,
eventually. And then once you do it, you're like, okay, I can do it. And I think
yeah,
that's the hardest thing, especially like so when you're going through these classes. You're worried about dropping the bike until you drop it, and then I think it's just getting over the fear of if I drop it, people will see, and then I have to pick it up. Once you realize that everybody drops their bike and it's not hard to pick up, they teach you how, then you're over it.
I do have a tangible fear of dropping the bike, but we can get that. We'll get to that at a later point. We can talk about that because I think it's in one of the other question answers. So
Loose Juice has just stepped in, and I missed somebody else. I was trying to catch everybody, but welcome everybody. So Ghost said earlier that the riding season in Texas, she's in South Texas, the riding season goes from October to July.
yeah, you have the middle. The stuff
So
we don't have, because then it gets to be like what 120 degrees.
it's the hottest I've ever been riding in Louisiana was in August, and it was 120 degrees.
Okay.
Speaking of which, Little Sturgis is the third weekend of August this year in Sturgis, Mississippi. And I went last year, and it was absolutely hot when you're out on the field. But then they have the tents all under the trees and stuff. So if anybody wants to go to Little Sturgis, Mississippi, you still with me?
Yep.
Okay. I got an OBS alert, and then the cat. I think the cat's touching things she shouldn't. I have a little monster here that wants to touch everything. But anyway, if anybody wants to go to Little Sturgis, Mississippi, the third weekend of August, it's going to be hot. I won't even lie to you. But the night before, it's going to be, it was, I think, 114 last year when I was there. But once you get there, it's a small town. There's lots of trees. You can get under the trees. They have margarita stands and pina colada stands out on the boulevard, which along with lemonade and drinks and whatever. It's a little really quaint little small town, and you will absolutely enjoy it. So show up, you'll love it. Loose Juice, my friend, stepped in. Welcome, Juice, my Juice. I love this. We've got nice people here. So let's see. Have you got any moto meetups besides Distinguished Gentlemen? And if you have, what's your favorite one?
That's the biggest organized one I've gone to, and it's a lot of fun. I'm hoping to find some more. I've actually been reaching out to Vermont pages to try and find some. And then my favorite meetup that's not like an organized one was I flew down to where Crystal lives. When was that? November? We went down in November and we rode from Miami down to the Florida Keys to Isla Mirada Key. And that was 4 of us. And so that was my favorite like planned meetup ride that we did. And I'd love to go back and go all the way down to Key West. I've been to Key West in the car, just not on a bike.
Now that is hot.
Yeah.
Well, depending what time of year you go. Most people that go to Key West go like March or April.
I don't know. I've been in July, June. It's not too bad. You have to shower like 5 times a day. It's not that bad. It's breezy. So.
Well, a lot of people, they'll start from, even starting off in, like upper Mississippi, Tennessee, you've got to dress for 60-degree weather, and you get down there, and it kind of doesn't matter what time you get there. You're in the tropics when you get there, so it's hot. Key Fob, Adventures of Key Fob. I forgot my bald brother. That's who I wanted to say hello to earlier. Key Fob's another one of those. He'll take every time he goes out, he records, and he tries to share little 5-minute clips every time he goes out, and it's. And I think it's kind of cool just to share these casual little rides because it's cool to see, especially in the winter. Like so he's down south. He's down in I think he's down in Florida, and especially in the winter when nobody else can ride. That's when I get my biggest hits when I'm riding is because I can get out and ride and talk about riding and other people can't. So it's a good thing. It's therapeutic for them to be able to watch. So never let somebody stop you from filming.
If I could learn to ride in the snow, I know it would be very popular because all of the pictures I've taken in the snow have been some of the most popular ones. So, because I have gotten out when there's snow on the ground, just not, riding while snowing, that's just stupid. Driving while it's snowing is stupid too.
So. Yeah, it's stupid to ride on ice, but I did it, and I'm there on the worst possible bike to do it, so. But yeah, the Himalaya, I don't think you'll have any problem with it. So good luck. Let me know how that goes.
Thanks. We'll give it a whirl.
All right, so we're getting into the personal information part of the questions.
All right.
What's the stupidest thing you've ever done on a motorcycle?
This is embarrassing to me. It's not that stupid, but when I went down to Florida Florida to ride with Crystal. She has a very nice friend who let me borrow his brand new Suzuki Dual Sport to ride down to the Keys, and it was tall. It was too tall for me. Like, I could touch the ground, but I could barely touch the ground. And we were just stopped at a restaurant to take a bathroom break and go get some beverages to cool off because it was really hot. And I was literally just standing on the bike in the parking lot, and we fell over, me and the bike. And I still don't know what happened because the side stand had been down, and either I accidentally kicked it up or we were on gravel, so maybe the gravel loosened it up, and I'm sitting there just checking my text messages, and before I knew it, I just fell over with the bike, and hyperextended my arm. I ended up going to get a chest
Nice.
when I got home because I thought I had a collapsed lung. It was like everything swelled up so bad I was having trouble breathing, and he's like, "No, you just strained all your muscles."
So you got checked out when you got home, or while you were still down there?
No, when I got home. I flew
Okay.
home a couple days later, and it like progressively the muscles got more sore. So, but yeah, I made it through the rest of the ride. That was the important thing because I had to get that bike back. So we got back.
Priorities. It's like
Yeah.
when you have a wreck, that you're not worried about. Like when I had my wreck, I wasn't worried about my concussion or my broken, spine. I was worried about getting the bike back up on the kickstand. And what's
Yeah.
funny, so yeah, Harleys fall on the kickstand all the time. It's just I think they, the manufacturers don't call them kickstands anymore. They call them something else, jiffy stands.
Okay.
So, and they're made to, if you lift the weight off the bike in any manner, they
Oh.
spring load and pop up.
Oh.
So yeah, it's something is, well, your Honda probably doesn't have it.
No.
The
No.
the Royal Enfield wouldn't have it because they're
No.
still using a lot of old technology, but all the newer bikes all have those jiffy stands that pop up as soon as you take the weight off the kickstand.
Nope, and I'm always checking my kickstand now because, like, with the Himalayan, if I even lean slightly, it's a lot heavier for me, so I can't really stop the fall if I lean in the wrong way with it while I'm standing. I have to be like 100% centered. So,
Key Fob says Harleys get tired. They lay down and rest a lot. And that's absolutely true. I haven't dropped the Harley yet because I knew about that jiffy stand, so I'm super super cautious of it. I always put it down, push it with my foot as I lean it down, and I don't take the weight off of it until it's down.
yeah.
The BMW, I just kick it and lay it over. I mean, it would probably be the most dangerous one to fall. If that thing falls, it's breaking my leg, but I trust it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the difference. All right, question. So, what has been your scariest moment on a bike?
So I was trying to think about this one. I guess I have two, and they're not that scary. But shortly after I got my Himalayan, I took it out for a ride. We had like a really nice day in March, and I wanted to take it out for a ride. So I went out, and a rabid raccoon ran into the road like as I was going by, and I freaked out because I thought it was gonna try to jump on me. Like, it was gnarly looking.
Was it Rev-It or just mean?
Oh, it was absolutely rabid. Like if you've ever seen a disoriented rabid raccoon, they're like it was totally wobbly and didn't know what it was doing, and it came very close to hitting me. I got by it as quickly as I could just to avoid it, and was hoping it wouldn't jump on me because rabid raccoon. So
Rabid raccoon. Enough said.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be one, and then the other one actually just happened the other day, and this wasn't scary. Like, in hindsight, it's nothing, but I went to Americade on Friday because I'm like an hour from Lake George. So I rode over to Americade, and I specifically wanted to test a Triumph Scrambler, and they have all these demo bikes you can demo at Americade. So I really wanted to test ride a Triumph Scrambler. They didn't have one. The only bike that was short enough for me to manage comfortably in that big of a crowd was the Speed 400. So I test rode the Speed 400, and we get halfway through our demo loop, and we're just getting to the good road, and somebody crashed a demo Harley, and it happened like right before we got to the road, and it was like sirens everywhere, and I still don't know what happened. I've been looking, and I hopefully no news is good news, because there wasn't anything about it in the news. But it, it was one of those things where I was like 5 minutes earlier and you might have been on the road at the same time. I don't know what happened, if it was a car that was out of control or just what happened. But anyhow, there was a big train of us all on demo bikes. We all had to turn around. There was ambulances going by. I was trying to get back and I was going over a bridge over the interstate and there's an ambulance flying by me and it's windy and it was just, not fun. But
That
again,
sounds like a. But did you have the camera rolling? Did you get it on film?
yeah, I did. I haven't
Yes.
shared all of that footage yet because I hate, like, I only saw one bike tipped over. I didn't see the actual crashed bike, but from the people who, one of the riders next to me said it looked pretty bad. He had gone by it. I think he may have been coming the other direction, and he said all he saw was bike parts everywhere. And so I'm just hoping whoever it was okay. Again, no news, I assume, is good news. But that puts a, sick to your stomach feeling after you have that close encounter. So, I'm gonna post it at some point, but I don't like posting others' misfortunes, and it's like one of those things where I'm like, what can I talk about that's like positive about this experience? So
I like. So I like if I see lights on ahead of me, I'll turn it on, just where I can video. But so my video tomorrow, I actually had to cut part of it out because I got stuck in a traffic jam, and there's just this line of police and ambulances and fire trucks zooming up the side of the road, and you can see them loading up and coming back the other way, and then they come back the other way, and they're making multiple. And I was off the road for 2 hours. I just kicked. Luckily I was in the shade of an 18-wheeler, and I kicked the kickstand down and killed the bike and just waited. And then when I got up on it, it was like, well, I'll cut that part out. Just due to, I don't want to. I guess out of respect for the people who are in it. I can show all the cars, I can show the cops, I can show the police.
yeah,
But I just don't want to show the scene itself because it was nasty.
yeah,
And they had even got it's one of those that you could tell where the wreck happened because of the placement of different things and the things that were left in the road.
yeah,
But it was like, yeah, I'm not going to. If it would just been a crushed up car, that's cool video.
yeah.
If it's a lot of debris laying in the road, that's cool video. But then when there was just stuff there I didn't want to show. But
Yeah.
you just got to be real cautious about showing that stuff. I mean,
I didn't see anything that would have been traumatizing for me. It was just the whole, all of us trying to turn our bikes around in a really tight little space, and there was ambulances whizzing by, and it was just, and then the thought, literally, like, me and the guy right next to me, I was like, oh gosh, if I'd left 5 minutes earlier, like, well, you never know what would have happened. So
yeah, because there's always that one person, even in group rides, there's always that one person who thinks, I don't want anybody to think I'm a newbie, so I'm going to drive to the ultimate end of my experience and try to just drive like a bat out of hell. It always happens. There's always that one guy. Buck Brown has a question. Did you grow up with any friends or family who rode?
Nope. Other than Crystal and I were roommates. After I graduated college, she was still in college. We were roommates. So I didn't grow up knowing her, but she's the only person that I know who rode a motorcycle until, this past year. And now I'm slowly meeting people who ride motorcycles. And I love them. They're all great.
Okay. Julie Campagna just stepped in. Julie Campagna
Julie.
just stepped in. Oh, it's a friend of yours. Welcome,
Yeah.
Julie. All right, we're having a good time here. So they're having a little Indian versus Harley debate in the side chat. And somebody says, didn't Indian make four-wheelers? No, but they do make snowmobiles.
Oh, yeah.
So they are owned by Polaris. They do make snowmobiles.
That's what I think I need my winter hobby to be, is snowmobiling. I think that's our next step here, is going to be to get snowmobiles.
They're more dangerous than motorcycles.
Yeah.
Although they don't fall off the kickstand, so.
No.
Might work for us. All right, so our next question is, what has been your favorite part of riding?
So I've had this conversation a few times with my husband, who I can't convince to get back on a bike, and I'm trying really hard. Um, because he's still at that point where it's weird feeling and scary to get on the road, and that lasted for me for a short amount of time, and now it's like, I don't have that feeling now. But I like, and Crystal and I were talking about this, and she put it well, and it's exactly right. I feel like when you're riding, you like taste everything. When you're in a car, you're just like driving and you feel the road and you feel it, but you don't like taste it. Like last year, right after I got my license, I took the Honda up and rode through this beautiful mountain road, which is just always popping with foliage here. We had a terrible foliage year last year, but that mountain road always has stunning foliage no matter the year. And I rode up it on my Honda, and it made me cry just like feeling that, like being on the road and feeling it, and like driving through the foliage, riding through the foliage. Just it's a different experience. It's completely different from driving, and that's what I think I like about it, is that you feel like you're in the landscape,
Mm-hmm.
moving through it.
I totally agree. There's more sensory experience,
Yes.
like especially in Vermont. So even when I drive from here to Tampa, I know every valley that when I dip down into it, it's going to be 10 degrees colder. I'd never feel that in a car. I
Yeah.
know when I turn this bend here, I'm going to smell the rotting wood and the rotting vegetation
Yep.
and the mulch. And when I cross the river between Alabama and Georgia, there's this huge lake there, and I know I'm going to smell fish the whole way. You
Yep.
don't sense those things in the car. Sometimes you'll like get a whiff of something and then it's gone. The flowers and the trees and the green and
Oh,
the different smells of different grasses. You don't get that in a car.
no, and also you don't get the constant smattering of bugs on your helmet as
And the
you're riding.
smell of bugs. I,
Yeah.
I, I bet you anybody who doesn't drive a motorcycle does not know what bugs smell like.
Hmm.
Because it's not, you may get a little whiff of them when you get out of the car, but most of the time when you get out of the car, they're baked. You get to smell the fresh smell of dead things when you're on the motorcycle, and that's awesome. But at the same time, things like skunk, you smell them and then they're gone. When you smell those things in the car, they linger for a while.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
funny how that works out. So the flip side, the last question: what's the most frustrating part of riding for you?
All right. So, obviously, I'm a female. Females are not as strong as men. I'm just going to come out and say it. It's not physically, we're different. And the height and weight of bikes has been a struggle for me. My Honda was amazing because it's like teeny tiny little bike, maybe 250 pounds. And I got the Himalayan, and I love the Himalayan. And when I sat on it, I couldn't test ride it at the dealership because I decided to buy it in January of all times. But when I sat on it, it was a good fit for me, and I still feel like it's a good fit. But the height thing is a struggle. Like it's really hard to find bikes who fit people under 5'8". And like I see other women riding the same bike as me, and they have no. And then I'm like, how tall are you? And they're like, oh, 5'8". 5'10", and I'm like, yeah, so your legs reach the ground. So if you can stop yourself from falling, like, there's not a lot of bikes made for shorter people. And Crystal will be able to test this if you talk to her even more, because she's a lot shorter than me. And when your legs don't reach the ground, it makes motorcycling a lot more difficult.
Well, but I did look at her channel, and she rides the crap out of bikes.
Yeah,
So
she
I think
does.
I think motorcycles though are a great equalizer. I mean, I know skinny guys, I know skinny girls, I know bigger guys, I know bigger girls. And once you get on that bike and get it moving, it's an equalizer.
Yeah,
It
and once I'm on it, it's fine. I can handle it. But like, there's times where I recently dropped my Himalayan, and if my legs had just been 2 inches longer, I could have stopped it. But because uneven ground and such,
mhm.
so that's the thing. And like when I went to go test ride the Triumph the other day, I picked the Speed 400 because it was the lowest seat height. I really wanted to try the Scrambler, but the Scrambler's taller than my bike. And if I was on a quiet road by myself, I could figure it out. But when you're in a crowd of people and you're like constantly dodging things, you want to be able to feel stable. So that's the only thing. I granted there are cruisers, and cruisers are a lot lower and they have a better center-weighted balance. But for me, I'm definitely more of a scrambler bike person, and scramblers tend to be tall, and so it's just,
Yeah,
you know,
it's easy to say, oh, you can ride it, it's fine, but
yeah,
you have to ride your own ride. And that, if that means that you got to be comfortable on your own bike, so be it. You know.
yeah. And with the Himalayan, I have not yet figured out how to pick it up properly without injury. I have injured myself picking it up, so I'm very cognizant of how I maneuver that bike and dropping it, because it's extremely heavy once it's dropped. It's light when I'm on it and it's great for me, but once it's dropped, it's like, 450 pounds of dead weight. And my husband can lift it in 3 seconds flat, but for me, I'm shorter, I'm significantly smaller, and I've tried doing it the back way too, and it doesn't go well. So I'm gonna have somebody show me how to do it properly
The
with that.
easiest way, I'm going to give you some very good advice that I saw one time and I've never forgot it. The easiest way for to lift a bike is by the one handlebar. Put it in gear or hold the brake if you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
But the handlebars are the furthest thing from the center of gravity on that bike.
Okay.
So if you turn the handlebar into whatever way is up for it and push it up. So if the bike's on this side, you would turn the handlebar into it and pick it up, and that's the easiest way. Just one handlebar, put both hands on the grip and pick it up.
I'm gonna have to try that.
And so just try that. I do want to say my favorite Canadian just stepped into the chat, Red Rider. Hello,
Hello.
lady. How are you? So talking about meeting people, and this is kind of funny. There are two people on the chat that I did not know, never met, and I went to pick them up from somewhere, having never met them. One I was giving a ride to the airport because he broke down near me. That's Buck. Buck calls me, or actually texts on a chat we're both on, and says, "Hey, is anybody in the Memphis area? Can you come pick me up? I need a ride to the airport in the morning." And I said, "Sure." Never met him face to face. Never talked to him on the phone. Nothing. I show up at the airport, pick him up, and we turned out we're great friends now. We have a lot of fun together. And then Red Rider, who I'd never met before and was from Canada. She's from Kelowna up in Canada. And she wanted to go down to Tampa. And I drove to the airport on the motorcycle at 2 o'clock in the morning and picked her up at the airport in Tampa. And we laugh about it now because she's like, I didn't know if you were going to be a weirdo or some kind of predator, but it's cool that motorcycles can bring people together. And you just kind of look past the whole, yeah, they may be a predator, but they got a motorcycle, so it's okay.
Yeah, no,
And
I've actually already had conversations with somebody that follower slash friend on Instagram, and we've been like, oh, we should trade houses. Like, I go stay at your house, you come stay here, and then we can ride in different locations. So,
I'm not saying they're all going to be good interactions. There are some weirdos out there,
yeah,
but I just think it's funny how you instantly trust somebody if they have a motorcycle.
yeah,
So Sentinel, who another is a very capable woman. No, she's a capable person. Bar the fact that she's a woman, she is probably the most badass rider I've ever seen on a motorcycle. So I've rode with her, and she will leave you behind. So, but she says, thought I'd be a cruiser rider right out of the gate. Ended up being with sport bikes and standard position bikes. But she is back to a cruiser bike now. But yeah, you never know what you're going to like until you get on it, you ride it, and then
yeah.
you either find yourself capable of it or you find yourself incapable of it. But it's just funny what you get to, I guess, get used to and what you don't think you're going to. I thought, when I was younger, I was a dirt bike rider. I'm like, yeah, this is for me. I don't want to get on road bikes. Those are crazy. And then my brother got a Honda 454 LTD, and so I started riding that, fell in love with it, and then I was a street rider, And then later on in life, I got cruisers. I got into cruisers, and then I got into sport bikes, and then I was like, I'll never get on those grandpa touring bikes. Those are crazy. I'll never be old enough for those. Now I have this big, land yacht, the big land canoe. So you don't know what you like until you get on it, and then you find out this is me. This is me. I fit this thing perfectly great, and it's me. So
One of the things I've realized riding is how I definitely, unfortunately, we don't have a big enough garage. We're going to build a bigger garage at some point, but I definitely want to have a plethora of bikes, because I bought the Himalayan because where I live, dirt roads are not avoidable. You could be on a beautifully paved road and it's like a fantastic mountain pass. And I've had this happen because I drive a Jeep. and I was going up this beautiful paved mountain road last year, and all of a sudden get to the top, you're going down and it's just like rocky gravel the whole rest of the way down. So I was like, I don't want to be riding on a bike and get halfway up and then all of a sudden I'm like, darn, I have street tires. Like, how am I going to do this? So here you definitely need to have a bike that can scramble or do like a little bit of off-road. Otherwise, you're going to miss some of the most beautiful sights to see here because all of the places to stop are all off dirt roads. Um, but I also appreciate having street tires when I'm going around tight curves or just like a little compact bike. So I appreciate both things and different types of riding already just in a short amount of time.
Your friend Juliet said earlier, it's mentioned getting caught behind a garbage truck. You don't realize how much a garbage truck splatters, how much liquid will drip off of it until you're behind one on a motorcycle. It's one of those
Yep.
things in a car you just don't even notice.
Yep.
Then
That's
you
so
get behind one in a motorcycle and it's like, there it is, right in my mouth. You got it in my mouth. Yep.
or here it's tractors, things spewing cow manure, things of that nature. Uh,
Good old Mother Nature always has
yeah.
gifts for you.
Yep.
Angel Red Rider says, "Well, I wasn't carrying a tarp and a rope, so that was a relief." But yeah, I picked her up at the airport and drove her to her own motorcycle. So yeah, it is actually a good time. Speaking of which, if you wanted to try out some motorcycles and ride other people's motorcycles and see what you like, I invite you to Forgotten Angels. Happens every October and every March. It's for children who have aged out of foster care. And we have a big camp out. We all get together and raise a lot of money for kids who have aged out of foster care. And anybody in this chat right now, I think, has been there. Everyone in this chat, except for probably for your two friends that are here, I know personally have been there. And we have a good time. It's uh, the food is provided. The ticket is $100 for the entire weekend. All the food's provided, entertainment's provided, the drinks are all provided, whether you're drinking water, soda, or beer. It's provided. And there's anywhere from 200, 250, 300, 400 motorcycles there, and anybody will let you ride. It's like an unwritten rule. They don't have to, but people are so excited about motorcycles. They want you to ride the bike because they want to share that joy with you. And then we have singing and karaoke, which if it's not a written rule that everyone has to sing karaoke, but we will encourage you to do it. And then of course you've got Shade Tree Surgeon down there, Her Two Wheels, Michael Bay Beth, me, Seven, the Loose Juice, Mad Yankee. Mad Yankee showed up. My Massachusetts boy, my masshole boy. So yep, Yankee. We were just talking about how you'd ride every year in the snow to get down to Forgotten Angels. So yes, absolutely. If you're Crystal, I think is still closer to it than you are, but you guys should gang up together. If I interview her, I'm going to talk her into it too. But I
You said
absolutely
it's
encourage you guys to come.
November and March.
It is usually the weekend of St. Patrick's Day weekend in March, and it's usually the last weekend in October.
Gotcha.
So that way the weather is pretty perfect for everybody to ride down, but it's still not too hot in Florida. But it's also not too cold to ride down for people who are coming down from the north.
Gotcha.
So absolutely. You'll see if you watch any of my content, any of these people's content, you're going to see a lot of stuff about Forgotten Angels. So because we love going there, we love supporting the cause. So just throw that out there.
Awesome.
Speaking of which, what's your plans for the new year? Where are you going to ride? Where are you going this year? What you got planned?
Well, this year I'm planning to go down and visit Crystal when she moves to her new home. We're planning to do Blue Ridge Parkway, some riding there. As for 2025, that's too far in advance, but I've come up with things in my head that I'd like to do. So this year, hopefully get down to Virginia, ride Blue Ridge Parkway with Crystal, do a lot of riding here, and then 2025, I would really like to. I don't know. I was just talking about wanting to go to Texas and do like Marfa, Big Bend, on a bike. But my husband and I have been talking about going to Marfa forever, so I told him if we go and do it, I'm riding bike, he can rent a car if he doesn't want to ride. But so yeah, we've been talking about that. I'd love to do a lot of different U.S. travel on the bike.
It is a lot of fun. I have been pretty much most of the places on the east of the Mississippi, barring going more than north of New York,
Hmm.
and then everything is further south than that, and then over from Texas to Oklahoma. My goal is to eventually do the Route 66 trip all the way down out to Los Angeles,
That would be
because now
awesome.
I have a bunch of friends who live close to Los Angeles. Some very surprising, but so I got many offers to entertain you when I'm in the Los Angeles and the Sacramento area, so I'm going.
That's
I
awesome.
have no excuse not to go.
California Route 1 would also be spectacular.
I do want to do PCH. Yeah, after riding through the mountains of Arkansas, PCH I think would be okay. I think would
Yeah.
not be too hard. Yep, Yankee just did the Blue Ridge Parkway. I think he did it twice. I think he did it when he came down to see me in Nashville. We do a thing in September where we go to whiskey distilleries
Oh,
and have a lot of fun. So yeah, he rides a lot. Him and Seventh Sentinel and Juice they ride because they're so far north to get anywhere they got to ride
yeah. It's.
1,000 miles to get there.
I was just telling I was just telling Crystal that I have to go to the Royal Enfield dealership for my first service on Friday, and I was like, that'll be 100 miles that day because I have to drive. I have to go 50 miles down just to get there, and then 50 miles back. And then they happily scheduled it for me on their demo day, so I can ride all day while I'm there waiting for my
Nice.
bike. Hopefully the weather will pan out, but
That works out. Yeah, if you get to ride one of the new Himalayans, let me know because those are freaking gorgeous. I've only seen one. I've not seen any in the wild. I've only seen the one on the Itchy Boots' page, but they look absolutely different than the Himalayans now.
they do. I like the current design better. That's my preference. But the new colorways, there's a couple of them, the black and yellow and the cream color. Those are really those are really nice. I would love to try one. I'm curious about the power differences 100% because I've heard there's a big difference. But,
Well, my friend who owns Full Throttle or Throttle actually has a Himalayan or a Royal Enfield and a Moto Guzzi dealership in Ohio.
okay.
And we also go see her once a year. Actually, at the end of this month, we're going to Dayton, Ohio, and I'm sure we will be going to Throttle Cove. Yes, she has everything, and it's almost like an unwritten rule. If we go to visit her, we all do test rides,
Yeah.
and it's too much fun. Too much fun.
It's
Riding other people's bikes, awesome,
yeah. Yeah,
awesome.
exactly. Exactly.
So I know you're pretty new to riding, but you've rode a few bikes.
Hmm.
You actually have a lot of riding under your belt. If someone asked you what kind of bike, and not to make fun of your husband, but if someone said, "Hey, what kind of bike should I get for my first bike?" What would you tell them? Now we're past MSF and riding the 250s and getting used to those. What am I going to buy now? What would you tell them?
A Honda, 100%. Because I have a 53-year-old Honda that sat in a barn for 30 years, was resurrected by a guy, and that thing loves to ride. It does not like to sit. It's got loads of problems that I need to start working on, but like that thing will always start and will always go. And we have another Honda, which I didn't mention, but we have a Nighthawk also, which was my husband's bike that he bought. Um, I know it's a joke about Honda that Hondas will run forever, but I do think it's
Oh,
kind of
I've had a few Hondas, so
like
yeah.
yeah, we just got another vintage Honda that's gonna be our learn how to work on old bikes project. So I think there's a part of me that will always own at least a vintage Honda, if not another Honda, because I do just kind of like them. And yeah, my bike, if she'll kick over, she's gonna go. So as long as I don't forget to turn the fuel on, which I do quite regularly if I turn it off.
Yeah,
So
the good thing about Hondas, and this is pretty much the joke is Honda builds all their bikes from the same scrap bin, but it's true. That's why there's so many of the parts. If you need a spare part all the way
yeah,
back to 1960, it's probably the same part they're putting
yeah,
on one of the 90s or 2000s bikes because they make them bigger. They put more into the heads and the jugs and the pistons, but all the smaller parts are probably going to be the same parts that they were molding, 40 years ago. So it's not hard to get the parts. If you have a vintage, that's what
yeah.
you want.
I was laughing a little bit the other day when I test rode the Triumph because when I got back home to look at my GoPro footage and I was looking at me on the highway riding the Triumph, I was like, this thing sounds just like my vintage Honda when I'm riding it. Like the sound of the engine is the same. It made me laugh because I was like,
There ain't nothing wrong with that. Yep, Crash says he loves Hondas. So Crash, welcome into the chat.
I
Crash has a Sabre. He has a Shadow Sabre, and I actually had the exact same bike except it wasn't his about 10 years ago, and I loved that bike. I would ride it anywhere. I had no problems. If I didn't even have to think about it, if I wanted to go from St. Louis down to Memphis, ride anywhere, I'm on that bike. The BMWs are the same way. I can get on the bike. If I get on that bike, I know it's going to take me anywhere I want to go. The Harley, I have to think about, is it going to be cool enough to ride it? Am I going to be able to have enough stops? Is the gas going to get me to the next gas stop? Because the tank is smaller. I have a bigger tank now, but yeah, Hondas and BMWs, I never have to think about if it's going to get me there. All I have to do is if it starts, it's going to get there. Period. No
yeah,
problems.
I really just love the look of the old Hondas too. Even the old Goldwings, I think are super cool. Like if I was gonna get a cruiser, I would probably try to find an old '80s Goldwing or something because I just think they're awesome. I don't know why. I do.
Red Rider says Honda almost bought Harley when the AMF decided to drop out. That probably would have been the best thing that ever happened to Harley. Not joking at all. And the other thing you hear back when Harley was having problems, and I don't think it got out a lot. Harley ended up selling most of its shares to a German company, and everybody was joking about it at the time that it was going to be. Yeah, that's why a lot of their heads of the organization now, the headquarters, are European guys, Italian guys, and German guys, and British guys. But besides that, yeah, if they would have sold to BMW, that would have solved a lot of their problems. And what's funny is the Europeans, now that the Europeans are in charge, they're making bikes that are more with Asian and European flair. Now, these new bikes that are coming on the market that are coming out of China, everybody's freaking out about them. But that's the best thing that could ever happen to them because the Europeans, they want bikes that are going to sell. The Asians want bikes that are going to sell. They don't care about, they have heritage and they'll bow to their heritage. But if a bike's not going to sell, they're not going to make it. If they know the crowds are looking, that's why they're going to water cooled engines now. Because in the old, when Harley first decided to go to water cooled with the V Rod, and all the old heads were like, "Oh, this is destroying Harley." And Harley said, "Oh, sorry, here, well, let's take them off the market." And now everybody wants the V Rod. With all the new bikes that are coming out, they said, "No, we're going to make them water cooled, and if you don't like it, don't buy them. Go somewhere else." And guess what? People are still buying Harleys. So, I guess they're doing something right. And I know a lot of people don't like it, but that's the way it is. On to other things. Go ahead.
I've not ridden a Harley yet, so I can't say anything about it. But I'd like to. There was one I was admiring at Americade the other day that was a smaller size Harley. I took a picture of it. I can't remember which one it was.
Was it water cooled or air cooled? They have only one air cooled one now.
This was somebody's personal bike, so I didn't see any information. It was that orange colorway that I really liked.
Probably one of the new Sportsters. Then they made some sports. They made a Sports 500 and a Sports 700 or Sports 750 for a while, and those are great bikes. But again, they let a lot of the old crowd talk them into taking them off the market because oh, it's water cooled. It's not a real Harley.
It was an 883R.
A Sportster, a Sportster Roadster, the Roadster version. Yes, the Sportsters are great bikes. I have one. And I love that bike. I have personalized it. The good thing about Harleys is they're like Legos. If you don't like something, take it off, put something else on. They're very easy to change out. So, yeah, I'm not bashing Harley in any way, but I love mine, and I've made it my own. I put so many things on it now that it is mine, and I'll probably never sell it unless somebody gives me a really good price for it. But any bike, I think, is that way. The BMW, you really can't personalize it that much. The BMW's there. There's nothing to change. It's perfect the way it is. But Harleys, a lot of roadsters, cruisers, they're meant to be personalized. That's why we joke about Harley only having one bolt holding a lot of things on, and we joke about things rattling off. But if you're going to change things, that's a good thing. It's easy to change stuff on it. But on to you. Let's not make this about me. Let's make it about you. If you could go anywhere on a motorcycle today, you could start from anywhere, go to anywhere, where would it be?
Well, today,
Or it could be
today was,
tomorrow. It could be tomorrow. It's fine.
I'll just talk about my dream trip. What would be my dream trip? Because
Okay.
today I would do more Vermont riding, but um, years ago we went to the country of Georgia to Tusheti National Park, and there's this road that goes up called Abano Pass, and we hired a driver to take us up who was from the region. And since then, I've seen people on YouTube have started going adventure biking up that road. And that's like my long-term dream of I'd like to get good enough riding off-road to be able to do that road. I don't know that I'll ever be able to, but it's a dream that I still hold in my head because it's such a beautiful road. But it's very rocky and like, river crossings, things like that. So, but mountains, really pretty. It would be like going to the Himalayas, but not quite. So
you can ride the Himalaya on it.
what?
So you can ride the Himalaya on it.
Yeah, you could. I've seen most people go up with BMW, so the BMW adventure bikes.
I've seen the Himalaya make it to places. Again, back to Itchy Boots. She has put that thing in places that you couldn't put a bigger ADV bike.
Yeah.
And she's been successful at it because it has like 30 horsepower or something. It's really low, but it will go anywhere. It will give all of that 30 horsepower to whatever it's doing.
So funny story about the Himalayan, which I'm really bummed about the footage, but it is what it is. It was on the old GoPro I have. We have lots of great dirt roads here. I've said that. I went on a dirt road ride one day just by myself and was coming back home and decided to take a turn down this other road and came across a road that was being graded, which I don't know if you know what that means when they're grading dirt roads.
I'm from Texas. Yep.
Yeah. They're combing the dirt and putting
combing the dirt.
And it's basically like walking onto a beach full of soft sand. And the edge of the road didn't look bad. So I was like, where they'd started the grading. So I was like, I'm just going to go for it. So I did. That was like, for me, who's new to like riding on terrain like that, I just remember I stood up on the Himalayan and just started going. And at one point I almost turned around and I said, nope, just power through it. Just keep going. Because if you stop, you're going to drop the bike. And if you keep going, you're not going to drop the bike. It was going through tire ruts, sifting, like my tires were slipping out constantly, but it did it. It got down that whole road, and I don't even have good tires on it yet. I have the stock tires, and I was like, this is actually a really good bike if it could handle that. So I definitely think it's a like, and I had my GoPro on, and of course that was the one corrupt file on the whole card. I had no other corrupt files but that one, and I just attribute it to the bike being like this the whole time. It was probably too bumpy and shaky, but yeah, that's my dirt road story.
Yeah, if you have a really good video, that's the one you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
Or you lose all the audio off of it. GoPros are
the two.
My GoPro 7 never lost anything. I got the 8s and they would shut themselves off or not have volume or shut off the audio. Yeah. And I went to the 9. Now the 9 has been perfect except for no, that wasn't the 9. I have a new DLSR type camera and it's started recording everything in double speed, which the 8 would also do. I would accidentally hit that slow speed or the chop speed or the frame rate, and it would just record like 30 minutes of video in like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I was so excited to look at that footage because, first of all, it was my first time riding on a road that difficult on the Himalayan. Second of all, it was a good testament because people have been asking me about the bike, and it would have been a great testament as to how it handles just on the stock tires, which everybody says the stock tires are not that great. But, I mean, that was the kind of riding that at the end of the road I was like breathed a sigh of relief that I was off it, but then I was like, oh, I have to do that again. That was so fun. So yeah, but I lost it. So
that sucks. That's life.
Yeah.
Red Rider says, I need an FXR now, and it's all Sick Bastard's fault. So last camp out, probably what was it, 3 months before the camp out, Sick Bastard won an FXR from Chase Resurgent, and from this camp out that we're going to, they actually raffle off motorcycles. Well, he won the FXR, and I think I actually got to ride it before he did because he rode his own bike down there, and this FXR was beautiful. I can't remember the year. I think it was an '87. I want to say, but it was gorgeous. And I'm like, well, can I take it out for a ride? He goes, yeah, take it for a ride. And again, there's bikes that you want to get on and you'll take them to the store, or you want to ride them to the bar, or there's bikes you want to ride out just to take a 1 hour, 2 hour trip. And then there's bikes you want to get on and ride for days. And they're not the same bikes. You like them for different reasons. That bike though is a bike that you want to ride. You just want to ride the
Yeah.
bike. It's shaking your bones apart. Um, and literally, I rode it for not even probably 30 minutes. It was like, I want to ride this bike. I don't care if it shakes me apart or not, because it was so fun to ride. It's just unlimited power, and it was sexy, and it was gorgeous, and it was sleek, and it was stylish, and had a cool paint job. But it was just fantastic. Would I ever own that bike? No, because I'd probably kill myself on it. But it was a lot of fun to ride. So thanks for that reminder, Red Rider. I think we all rode his bike that day. I think because it was just too much fun to ride. All right, on to other questions. Have you inspired anyone to ride or wrench on their own bikes?
Yes. So my husband got his license. That hasn't panned out though, riding wise. Another girlfriend went and got her license afterwards because she liked my Honda and said she remembered riding her sister's Honda and maybe she'd go get her license. So she did. I just still don't think she rides yet, but she did get a license. And I don't want to say I convinced, but one of our followers on One Throttle Instagram told me that my Honda inspired him to buy a vintage Honda, which is basically the twin of mine, but the larger power. It's the CL 360, I think, or no, XL 360. Looks just like mine, but it's a better, bigger engine. And he says he smiles every time he rides it because it's so much fun.
Oh yeah, if you're not smiling when you ride a bike, you didn't get the right bike. I mean,
Yeah, there's something about the old Honda, man. It's terrifyingly fun. So,
terrifyingly fun.
yep.
So, if you could tell a new rider one thing that you had to learn the hard way, what would it be?
I didn't really learn this the hard way, except for some might say the Himalayan's too big for me, but I'm just learning how to manage it at this point. So, I would say buy a reasonable first bike for a new person. Don't go out and do what my husband did and buy a big engine
I wasn't gonna
monster.
go there. I wasn't gonna go there.
Yeah, no, buy something that will give you confidence to learn how to ride. And so my Honda was rough because it's a kickstart, and so I went through many bruised shins just to get the bike started. And it's super, super no frills, like it's very mechanical. It had a sticky throttle. My neighbor finally helped me fix it, but it had a sticky throttle. Everything is wonky on that bike. It shakes like crazy when you ride it, like your whole body feels the vibrations of everything. But it's small, light, and it's easy for me to manage, and it gave me the confidence to try other bikes because I learned how to ride on it and I learned how to maneuver on it, and it was confidence inspiring. And when I rode the Triumph 400, which is also a pretty tiny bike, I was like thinking to myself, if it had a better clutch, which I hated the clutch on that bike, but if it had a better clutch or you got it adjusted, that would be a great first bike because it's manageable, it's easy, you can take U-turns super easy. So I'd say get a bike you can handle and then learn how to maneuver on it because those are the skills you're in my mind. The things that most people are gonna get hurt and have accidents over might not just be crashing the bike. It's gonna be like if you drop your bike trying to do a slow speed maneuver or something like that, stopping on a hill, all of those things. Like can manage to do difficult things and then learn how to do them on that before moving up to a bigger bike. That would be my supportive device and practice, slow speed maneuvering, because a lot of people don't like doing that. I don't like doing that. It's really boring, but it teaches you
It's,
good skills.
yeah, it's one of those things you're going to need. It's the difference in, and I hate to say this, I'm not all about being cool, but it's the difference in looking cool in a parking lot when you have to turn around and looking like a noob.
Yeah.
But it's one of those skills that you can use, because you're not always going to be able to put, especially if you're on dirt roads and stuff. So I have learned, and you probably have learned this by now too, especially in the rain, the tread on your bike has more adhesion than your shoes do, usually by 2 or 3 times. So if you can go without putting your foot down when doing things, you're a lot better off. Because once you put your foot down, you just have this intense feeling to carry the weight. And once you do that, if you don't have good adhesion to the ground, you're gonna drop the bike.
Yeah.
So put your feet down as little, and that's in their ice, that's in snow, that's in rain, that's in anything. Try, if it's raining and I'm coming up to a red light or a stop sign, I'm going to balance the bike as much as I can because I don't want to put my feet down. Because especially at a red light, you don't want to put your feet down if you don't have to, because that's where all the goo is. That's where the oil is, and the gas, and the slick, and windshield wiper fluid, and radiator fluid, and all that stuff is slick. One of the worst things on concrete is antifreeze. Antifreeze is stupid slick on concrete. So yeah, if you don't have to put your feet down and you learn these drills to balance the bike and do slow speed, you'll be much better off.
I'm
Couple,
very guilty of putting my feet down a lot still, but I've also learned that keeping them up is better when I can, as
so,
much as possible.
Red Rider wants to know. Excuse me a second. Red Rider wants to know what is your bike? What's the model, make, and model? Well, it's a Honda, but what's the model of your bike?
I have two. The Honda's a CL100, tiny engine, and then the Himalayan is 2023 Himalayan, so it's a 411, not the new one, the 411.
Because Red Rider just bought. Actually, she had an old. I think it's a Yamaha, and then she bought a one just like it, and she's trying to build one bike, and it's about the size of yours. I don't think it might be a 100 or a 110.
Oh, like the size of my Honda?
Yeah, she's
Okay,
actually
yeah.
trying to build one. So she'll say in the comments I can't remember what the Yamaha is, but uh,
I think
yeah.
I know the one that you're speaking of, though. There's one that looks very similar to mine in size and style. That's from the same era.
Red Rider's trying to talk Sick Bastard into giving her that FXR. They're selling it to her. We had a couple other comments in here. Oh, so people are asking, so why doesn't your husband try to start on your Honda to get used to riding?
Oh, I've been trying to convince him to do that. He's very busy for one thing. You know, he really only has time for stuff on weekends, and we also own a really old house, so we have constant house projects to do during the summer. But he could, take it out.
Yeah, just take it on the street. It's fine. It's fine.
I almost think for him it would be too short because he's a lot taller than me, and I'm pretty crunched up on my Honda, so somebody with longer legs might be even more crunched. But it would be great just to practice on in a parking lot. I think he just bought a 1974 Honda CB360. And I think his goal is he wants to learn. He used to be a car mechanic, so I think his goal is he wants to learn how to take apart that bike, put it back together, get it running, and then that'll be his bike. And in the meantime, we have this Nighthawk sitting in the shed that I will take out when I can move everything to get it out. But it's a fun bike, but man, it's huge. It's not huge, but it's big for.
This is some role reversal, It's one spouse saying, "Well, I better take my other spouse's bike out because they're not gonna ride it."
Yeah, I don't believe in bike sitting, so I don't like them to not get ridden. So as soon as I can get it out on a nice day.
Yeah. So is he gonna sell it now?
We're on the fence about that.
Red Rider says her bike it's a Yamaha XT 250.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah, she has two, and she's trying to build one out of it. She bought one that was gonna actually thought was the better bike, and she was gonna take the parts off what she had and put on it. And then
Mm-hmm.
once she got it home and started looking at it a little closer, she realized the one that she had was better than the one she bought, so now she's moving parts from it to the other one.
Oh yeah.
And that happens. I mean, that's why you get scrap bikes. That's why you get
Yeah.
donor bikes, because you know they're not going to run right. You're just going to scrap them out.
Yeah, no, we got the scrap Honda really cheap, and we're like, if we can't, I think the engine's gonna run. I think it has kickover, but it's just not running yet. So once we get the cards in, if we can get it running, then we'll take it apart and put it back together slowly and buy parts. But if we can't get it running, then it's just gonna be a parts bike for another one. So
If I lived closer, I do like those. I use like, I guess Hondas. I love a Honda, but yeah, that's way up there in syrup land. I'll leave it there. All right. What is one thing people may not know about you?
I don't know. My dog's starting to whine. They're locked in another room, so it's
You can
otherwise.
let them in. You let them in. Let them in.
Right. No, they're really loud and obnoxious. I love them though. I have two English Cocker Spaniels, but uh, well, I love to travel. I haven't traveled much since COVID happened because we bought a house and that consumes like every waking moment and money trying to keep it up. But I lived in Russia for a year and I studied there, and I've traveled a lot in Eastern Europe and some of the places there, and would love to go back and ride through them at some point, but that requires bike rentals and stuff, so at some point we'll get there.
I spent some time in St. Petersburg
That's where I lived.
in the Navy. Petersburg. Yeah, they don't call it St. Petersburg. They call it Petersburg.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, it was one of my Navy experiences.
It's a beautiful city.
It was, and you can correct me. What I've noticed moving around the world and being in different places is nowhere is ever like you think it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get there, they just seem like people that you know that just speak a different language.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It breaks down all those preconceived notions and brings you closer. Again, like the biker culture, it just makes you believe that we're all one big people and we're all have the same common interests. We're just separated by not knowing each other. Too cool, huh? All right, more of you, less of me.
Oh,
If
it's fine.
if you could buy any bike right now, but you had to own it forever, what would it be?
A fully restored Honda, vintage Honda CB, either 350 or 550. I'd probably get a 750 if it felt like I could handle the weight of it. But I love the old Honda CBs, and I would love to just be able to buy one fully restored. It's fun to learn how to do the work yourself, but like you can't ride it in the meantime. So if I could get a fully restored one, I love my Honda so much. It's literally like the best bike, but I wish it had more power. So like the CB would be, 350, 550 is probably better for going up hills here, but fully restored and beautiful.
Okay. So, on the same track of that question, but what bike would you want to ride just once, knowing you could never afford it or ride it again?
A Norton, an old one or a new one, but a Norton.
Specific kind? Commando or?
Yeah. Well, my neighbor has a vintage Commando, and while I'd love to ask him if I could ride that, he's planning to sell it, so there's no way he's gonna let me.
Sure, he would.
Yeah, sit on it maybe, but and I understand that, like it's pristine now that he's restored it, but it's such a beautiful bike, and the sound of it is just wow. And the new ones I've heard are really really phenomenal too, but the old ones are much prettier looking, so it would be probably an old restored one. I really like vintage bikes. I like new bikes too, but I like the sound of, there were less restrictions on old bikes, so they have a different sort of character to
They
them.
sounded more angry.
Yeah. People have referred to my Honda as sounding like an angry bee, which I kind of agree with. So.
All right. What is your toxic trait?
I'm sure that there's more, but I'm OCD, so that's probably my biggest one. I'm OCD. It seems to run in my family. We get fixated on things and like only want to do that one thing. So like right now I really like to ride a lot and I don't want to do other things in my free time, but I have other things I need to be doing. So or do I?
Adulting sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
If anybody has any questions for us, we're down to the last few questions. Go ahead and throw your questions into the chat. All right. What is the one thing that you will never take a road trip without?
My camera. I mean, there's lots of things, but my camera goes with me everywhere, and so that would absolutely camera and now GoPro.
I'll buy that. Yeah, my helmet GoPro is mounted to the helmet, so it does go everywhere I go.
Yeah, yeah. That aside from helmet, that's a given. But
That's a given
yeah,
because you're smart.
yeah. It's also illegal here to not ride with one.
Yeah, it was. So I lived in Arkansas. Even though it wasn't, you didn't have to wear one there, but I had a bad accident. So after that, I wear one everywhere. I don't care what state I'm in. I've seen people stop at state lines and take their helmets off because they were changing states, and I'm like, it's not even worth it to me.
I would have really bad helmet hair for one, or like my hair would be in dreadlocks, and two, I I didn't like the full face helmets when I first started riding. I preferred like the 3/4 helmet and the open face. But now I get hit with so many bugs while I'm riding. I'm like, if I didn't have my shield down over my face or goggles, I would just be like bugs in my eyes and my mouth. It wouldn't be pleasant. So
Oh yeah, I I hit a compromise. I got a modular, so if it gets too hot, if the red lights, I can lift it up, and then when I take off, I can put it down but lift the shield. So again, you got to come to a happy medium with your safety gear, all the things you're using, but still be comfortable, but also try to be as safe as you can without being
yeah,
uncomfortable.
exactly.
Uh, your friend Julie wants to know, would you ever do a track day? It seems like she's trying to talk you into a
Yes,
track day.
yes. No, I would. I've actually thought about that. I just don't know if we have a track near where I live. And also, I've seen people do them and they do them on their bikes, but I don't know if I have a bike that the Nighthawk would probably be a track bike because that thing leans really good and it's got a lot of power. But the Himalayan would be terrible on a track. Terrible.
Well, Barber is not Barber Motorsports Park is here, and they have free track days. You can get
Okay.
any bike on the track. And it's the same track that they do their short track motorcycle racing on. They do Porsche races on it. They do stock car races on it. Not stock car like Indy or Indy 500 type cars, but they have like the what are they called, the leaner cars. But
Hmm.
they'll race any small car on that track or motorcycle.
No,
But
I've
they'll let any bike get on there. I think it's like once every other month they have open track day. You can get on
I
the bike and run.
I wanted to look into it because I think it would be a lot of fun and also it would where I live the roads are all like this. So they're very curvy, so anything that helps you learn how to take turns better is super helpful.
I get it.
There go my dogs.
All right, we just got a couple questions left for you. What is your favorite TV or movie motorcycle?
To be honest, I haven't seen a ton of now I'm probably gonna go back and watch some motorcycles, but I feel like there's always a pretty old Triumph in the old movies people riding. So I can't think of an exact one, but I know like James Dean, I think rode a Triumph trophy.
The Happy Days, Fonzie rode a Triumph.
Yeah.
He rode Bonneville. So yeah, there's a lot of old ones. All right, last question that I have for you. Who would you like to ride with? Alive, one alive and one dead.
Oh, Well, I'd love to ride with Crystal again, and we're gonna do that. She actually would have so many skills to teach me. Like we've talked about her teaching me how to dirt bike because she knows dirt biking and racing. So, um, hopefully we will ride together this in the next few months. And Dead, probably pick James Dean.
Okay.
I just like his whole vibe in general. So, you know, that would be, that would be my old school choice.
All right. Very cool. All right. So, do you have any questions for me?
Sorry about my dogs.
It's fine. My cat has jumped up here probably 10 times. She'll jump up here, wave a tail in my face, and jump down. So
they've been very good for 2 hours. I'm really proud of them for holding it together. Normally they're barking at everything.
We're proud of them.
How many years have you been riding for?
I have been riding for 45 years.
Wow.
I've been riding since I was 10 years old, and you do the math. I'm old. But yeah, again, it's I'll say you learn something, if not every time you ride, every other time. You never stop learning how to, even if it's just from like if I get on the Sportster, riding Sportster is different than getting on the BMW. And you don't realize it until you get off of one and get on the other. And then you go, oh, can't do that on this one. Oh, this one's different than this. And it's just, you're constantly learning from bike to weather to sun to rain. The bike is constantly challenging you. And if you're not open to it, that's when you dump the bike.
Yeah.
That's when bad things happen.
I agree. I got to get better at learning to ride in traffic. That's my big thing because where I live, your biggest source of traffic is going to be a tractor on the road stopping cars. So we don't have any traffic. For me to find traffic, I have to drive to cities that are an hour away and like put myself in traffic. So that's my big thing I need to do next is learn how to get better in traffic.
Okay.
And in the rain.
Yeah, the rain is one of those things that you hate it until you come to terms with it.
Yeah.
It's like once you start ignoring it and it's like it's not there, you're just used to it. There have been times I've rode in the rain and I've kind of forgot it was raining until like 10 minutes after it starts. Okay, now you're as wet as you're possibly going to be. It can't get any worse than this, as long as it's not cold.
Yeah, cold
You
rain's
know, yeah, that starts to suck quick. But
no, I've ridden my
yeah,
in the rain a bit, but not the new bike yet. Just because I like to get a feel for the tires on the road before jumping in on the rain.
all right. So if you're good, we're going to go ahead and close out. So tomorrow I have a premiere. I will be premiering one of my last trips to the West Texas motorcycle riders. They actually had me a meet. We went to a bar and grill. And then I'm going to, this just came in the mail. Let me get this in here. This is the Asmax Bluetooth. That's like a GoPro, or not a GoPro. It's like a Cardo. They're sending me 2 of them, so I'm going to be trying these out on the channel, and I'm going to do some review. So, like, subscribe, comment, hit that bell, and you can see some good content coming up. So, if you're good, I did want to ask about. So, tell me about about One Throttle. It's kind of intriguing to say.
Are my dogs really loud? Should I?
No.
Okay. So One Throttle is so Crystal has been developing. Crystal works at a dealership, or has worked at a dealership that she started with her friend for the past, I think it was like 10 years. She can tell you more about it in the future, but she's an accountant and she developed a process that helped. It's a used motorcycle dealership, not a new dealership. So financing works different for used dealerships. You kind of have to figure it out for yourself. You aren't handed like the Triumph provides this financing and so and so. So she came up with a system that made it easier for people to find financing in different brackets, and developed a system for it. And then so the One Throttle software that she has been developing with our developer is supposed to make it more seamless process for used dealerships to find financing for buyers from different tiers, not just, a lot of different tiers of financial situations. And through her process, her dealership that she was working at became extremely successful. So they've created a software that they hope we've been working on a software that we hope will make it easier for dealerships, used dealerships to finance in the future. So it's a process. So that's about the software. We have other plans possibly down the road, but that's the most I can talk about.
Okay, cool. And then I won't ask any more, but it does sound intriguing. And her dealership is Patagonia down in
Patagonia
Miami.
Motorcycles in North Miami Beach, I believe.
North Miami Beach. The beach. There you go. See anybody's in that area, go check it out.
Yeah,
I've seen some of her videos on there. So
there's
is
lots of awesome bikes there. They get in so many cool bikes. So
all right. So we're gonna go ahead and close this off. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for updates. It does work. And if you find you're not getting updates on this, the bell, I think about once a year, YouTube shuts your bells off. So if you're not getting updates for a channel you're wanting to watch, make sure you go back and hit the bell and make sure your alerts are turned on. All right, guys, that's all we have for tonight. Thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
thank you for having me.
And I've been kind of sidetracked with Crystal. Maybe I'll get her onto the channel too and get her an interview.
Yeah, hopefully.
So
She'll
that'll be a lot of fun.
I think.
You have been great. This has been a good interview.
Oh, thanks.
So thanks. So if you are interested, I think that people would love to see you go down to Forgotten Angels.
Okay.
It's very cool, and you'll get to ride any bike you want to.
All right.
So all right, guys, thanks for coming out, and I will see you guys tomorrow night.